The one thing that's always bothered me about Space Marine snipers is that while they look great, it always seems to me that there's something just missing there. These guys are not supposed to be seen, and I always thought that if I had snipers in my army, I'd have them well camouflaged and impossible to spot in their surroundings. Well, that day has come, and in today's video I'm going to show you guys how I painted camouflage on my Space Marine snipers. The colour scheme I'm going for is Desert Camo, because it somewhat fits in with the rest of my army, and I wanted to use just two colours for it. I split the painting into two main parts, the armour and the cloak. For the armour, I went with Xandri Dust, and this is going to be the main colour, the colour of the sand that I want the sniper to be blending in with. I tinned it down with some lamb medium, and this lets me add two layers to get a solid colour down. I pretty much put it on everything except any of the cloth parts. The other main colour then is going to be XV88, and this is going to be the colour of any rocks that these guys are going to be hiding amongst. I really wanted these guys to blend in. For now, I just use it on the cloak, the hood part of the backpack cover, the pouches and the gun, but not on the scope. With the base colours dry, next was to add some shading in, and the one shade that's going to go perfectly with all this is Seraphim Sepia. I tin it down and I start brushing it all over the model. I always tin my paints down, but the best thing about tinning shades down is that if you need to add more on later on, you can still do it and it won't darken up too much, which is super helpful later on when I realise that it has some parts out of order. The next step then was to start adding the camo parts on, and I go back to Xandri Dust that I used on the armour parts. There's no real specific shapes for this, and there's multiple different ways of doing it, but I just keep it simple with some odd shapes, but I make sure not to give them any sharp edges. As well as the cloak, I also add some onto the pouches and along the gun. This is the point where I should have done the shading with Seraphim Sepia. I kinda got ahead of myself earlier, but if anything, it's going to add a little bit more depth into the darker parts and leaves the camo parts a bit brighter. Remember lads, tin your paints because it can save your ass later on. With the bulk of the work done, all that's left was some of the smaller parts to finish, and I start off by highlighting the armour. And to do this, I go with Ushapti Bone because it's light enough for a highlight, but it doesn't overtake the Xandri Dust base colour underneath. I wanted very few colours on the models, but one guy had binoculars, and I thought they would look great with a faded green colour on the lenses. So I used Auric Green as the base colour, and then I used Antonio Camo shade over it. I go back to Auric Flesh then to just highlight the edges and the corners. I then wanted to highlight the darker brown parts on the gun, and I gave Gothar Brown a go, but it didn't quite have the look that I was wanting. But for now it'll just have to do. I'll have to work on finding the right highlight for that colour on future models. After painting the bases the same as the camo, the Space Marine snipers were finished. I have a bit of a weird feeling after finishing these guys. They turned out exactly how I wanted them to, completely camouflaged from head to toe, but it feels wrong that I didn't have to make any metal parts shiny, layer multiple colours on, or do a lot of edge highlighting. And I still can't believe that these two guys are finished by just using two main colours and a shade. But I'm really happy how my first attempt at trying camo turned out, and in the future I'd really like to give snow camo a shot. But if you guys like this video, make sure to let me know in the comment section below, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't, and once again, thanks for watching and I'll see you guys next time.